We are joined by head coach Paul Haynes. Will start us off here with an opening statement.
Good win. Good team win. A lot of good things, happen for us team wise. You sit there and you look at being down 14-3 at halftime and coming out and making a big drive in the opening third quarter was huge. For us to cut it to 14-10. Had both back and forth some defensive stops in there on both sides, and then eventually had another big play to open it up. And defense finally came through at the end of stopping them. When we were on the field at the last. And again, this game has against Kent and Miami has been this way for the last couple of years, of just going back and forth and coming down to the last possession. So it was good. Again, I think we talked about luck, last week, and you talk about luck with injuries, and you talk about luck with them missing a field goal and things like that has happened for us or happened for us in that game. So, again, pleased with the win, pleased with the performance, pleased with the grit and the fight of our guys.
How much was that win needed just to, you lay down this formula for winning and you kind of drive it home, but yet until you really see it work? I mean, how big was that just to see that happen?
It was big. You're happy for the guys. Definitely that, it comes to virtue on the things that and the hard work. I mean, again, this is probably one of the most, probably the team that I've been around the most that prepares like crazy. I mean, these guys watch a lot of film. These guys study the game a lot. They're always over in our offices, sitting there watching film together. And so it's good to see it pay off, for them for once.
Offensively, it seems like, especially without Holly in there, that you have to be kind of, in the past at least, you had to be so perfect with your drives. You had to execute so many plays in a row. How nice is it to just be able to throw the ball to Kerrigan, a guy like that, 5 yards and he goes?
Yeah, it's huge. Again, I think I've said you watch college football all day, and they talk about how great a play, the offense coordinator called, or how, and they just threw a 5-yard hitch and the guy went, 80 yards. So it's a help for Treddy, because again, in a lot of these games they got to call perfect game, which is difficult to do. So it's good that guys can make plays and shoot on his long run. I mean, he reversed his field, twice. So again, it's helpful. It's definitely helpful. And I've been on that side as a coordinator that you kind of just throw your hands up saying, I don't know what to call, just because again, nothing seems to work because plays just aren't happening. So it is definitely helpful.
You feel like Mike has kind of established himself at this point as a guy that can, he's kind of hit one here and there, but that was a pretty big game.
Yeah, that was a huge game. And again, like I said after the game, the problem is you put it on tape. Now it's expected, of you that you can show what you can do. Now you got to make sure that you do it on a consistent basis.
How much of a lift was it for the rest of the game, that opening drive of the third quarter? You marched the ball down the field 5 yards at a time and just put together a really, full drive. And then how much of an effect did that have on the rest of the game, just setting the tone for that entire second half?
Well, I think, again, you got to look at, again, you talk about momentum, for sure. On a team, again, when you're talking about a 1-5 team that as much as you try to psychologically keep it going, you get them saying, oh, here we go again, and, I know Coach Martin sits there and goes, up, we're up 14-3. We can just sit there and run the ball because they haven't scored a lot of points, so we can just keep it, tight to the vest and whatever. So when you come out and you cut it to 14-10, then he has to change a little bit also too. But just for our psyche, I sit there and think for our psyche to get back in that game so early, and not have to wait until the end of the third or the end of the fourth or whatever to come right out and hit that drive, I thought was huge for our psyche.
How did Georgia and Crum look on film?
You know what? Again, you always sit there and as you're watching the game, it's a little bit different, and then you come out and you watch the film, and you may have a predeceived motion on what you were thinking, when you were at the game and then you watch the film, and it's totally different. But I thought Crum did a lot of things. Me and Coach Treadwell talked, the other day. Again, it's a lot easier sometimes for the sixth man to come in and play well, instead of the starter. And that's not our plan. We need the starter to go out there and play, great. Not that Crum didn't play great, but it's easier to come off the bench some of the times and sit there and play well. And again, we also got to keep in mind that you got a young freshman, in there that didn't get a lot of reps, in spring ball, didn't get a lot of reps in fall camp, So a lot of what he's doing right now is all that time being put up and being thrown in the fire, So there are things that he has to improve on. I'm talking about Crum as far as getting rid of the ball early, but we also got to help him with what we're asking him to do, also too. Again, George, you expect some of those things, out of, the difference again in this game. You talk about third down. I mean, we were 1 for 8 in the first half. We were 6 of 9 in the second half, and that made a huge difference. And any time that you don't turn the ball over, with both of those guys, and a lot of it has to do with both of those guys and starting it. So, again, pleased with some things and some things they got to get better at.
Georgia comes out and is able to throw the ball a little more. Obviously, that helps on third
Yeah.
down because a lot of times you can't run the ball.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And again, like I said, just controlled passing game, and just getting the ball out of their hands a lot earlier, and not giving up sacks, And again, that's what happened in the third and fourth quarter in the second half. So it worked for us.
Whenever you went back and watched the tape, did you notice the offensive line, how well they played? Because I thought that was their most complete game. Can you just expound upon the offensive line play?
Yeah, I think so too, and that's the thing that you don't, really kind of notice, as the game. You kind of got a predeceived notion that, that you didn't play that well, and I thought we did. I thought we did play well on the offensive line, and those guys are beat up and banged up, also too. But I feel probably, like you said, it was probably their best game.
Just back to the quarterbacks, just
Yeah.
real quick. You same mode going into this week?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Playing both
We'll go on the week on how the week goes. Again, I think at this point in time, both of these guys deserve to play. It's not. It's not now. Again, we hopefully we can play better in the first half with whoever's starting. But I think again at this time, both of those kids deserve to play. So at some point in time, you'll see both of them, and then, when, where, that's not determined, right now. But you'll probably see both of them.
Defensively, it seems like some new names have kind of popped up in the last few weeks, and Lawrence Burke comes to mind right away. I think he had 11 tackles. Just kind of talk about his emergence. Yeah,
he's actually started, I think, the last 3, ball games for us. He's kind of a, we tell him he's 2 biscuits away from being a linebacker, and that's kind of how he plays the game a little bit of. So we do a lot with trying to keep him close to the box and keep him down in the box because he's a great tackler, physical guy, so that's kind of a little bit on how he's being involved a little bit more in the run game, just because we try to keep him close to the box as possible. But tough, hard-nosed kid, great tackler, so we kind of expect those things out of him, and he's performed, for us.
Anybody else come to mind on the defensive side? It's kind of
John Morgan Cunningham, I thought had a great game. He got our defensive player of the week, this week. Stout in the middle, had a couple key plays on the quarterback run stuff, and had two quarterback hurries. So we thought he played solid.
How about new names, like maybe within the last few weeks?
Elvis Hines had a humongous, interception, which was a great play, I think, at the beginning, and we've been rotating him and DJ Marshall at the dime position. But he would be a guy that comes to mind. I think Devontae Lee had a pretty good game inside, up front, as a new name guy too.
flip into Ohio real quick just to see that they put some points up on the board last week.
Yeah, they are typical Ohio team, though. I mean, they're tough, hard-nosed. They're going to pound it on offense, and they play aggressive on defense. So always a tough place to go play. I'm glad we're playing it in the daytime. Last time we were there, I believe it was a night game, and you got to stay a ways away from there. So you got to drive an hour and a half to get there, and when it's a night game and it's pitch dark, diving down 33 with no lights, man, it's hard. I turned around and half of our guys were asleep, and I had to keep myself awake just because it's so dark of a highway that you got to get down there and go. So glad we're playing it in the daytime, but again, tough place to go play. Tough, hard nose. They got really good wideouts. Their running back, both running backs are short, powerful, type guys, and again, they're stout up front, on defense. So again, going to be a big challenge for us, but we got to keep the momentum. We got to keep how we're preparing, keep how we're playing. Again, we talk about our keys to victory. Again, when you don't turn the ball over and you're decent on third down and you're actually scored points in the red zone, you got a chance to win some football games.
Defensively, you're all 3 MAC games you've been. I guess, how do you feel about it? Pretty solid numbers wise. Yeah,
solid numbers wise, but again, sometimes numbers lie. When you're playing on short fields, and you're turning the ball over and it's a short field, you don't have the yardage for them to get. But it still comes down to, again, we got to get better in the red zone. We still got to get better in the red zone, and we still got to get better at giving up big plays. Because again, when the game comes tight, you got to make sure that you're not giving them chances to go win the football game. And we had chances, when we did get up, to have a couple more drives to score some points and to stop them, that we didn't. So I'm always going to be overly critical, on the defense, and don't really look at the numbers, but just look on how we play, basically on tape.
Sort of an odd situation happened last game where your long snapper went down with an injury and had to go to a backup offensive lineman to long snap.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that experience before, wherever there's not that regular backup long snapper on the 2 deep? And then what's the plan going forward for Ohio with field goals and punt snapping?
Yeah, we have guys on the team that long snap and short snap. On every team I've been on, it's not like you have 4 long snappers, on the roster. So it's always been 1 or 2 guys, and Stefano has always been our backup, long snapper and short snapper. But we got a couple other guys that have practiced it, a couple other guys that have done it, in practice, just in case this does happen. So again, we'll have some guys. Stefano will be one of our guys, and then we got a couple other guys that we'll have, be our long or short snapper.
Other than Faulkner and Palumbo, how'd you come out of that game?
Pretty good. Those 2 guys we'll wait and see. They'll see the doctor, I think, on Tuesday, and see how they are. But other than that, just normal wear and tear, I guess you say.
I guess what's just your kind of, basically everybody's played 3 games in the MAC now. Pretty crazy as always. Just what's your impression so far overall?
Yeah, especially in the East. I don't know what's going on in the West, but especially in the East, it's week by week. I think Akron is 3-0, in the league, and everybody else is kind of right around each other. So this is typical. It's typical how it is every week. every week you can get blown out, or every week you can have a chance to win. So again, it comes down to how you prepare and how you play. And our formula doesn't change, and it won't change. So. But our guys are excited. I apologize for Mike, not being here. We actually have a speaker down there speaking now, to the team that I think is speaking to the rest of the athletic department tonight. So we got a lot of our guys in class at night, so we did it in the morning. So, but I was trying to catch the end of that thing and everything. That's why I was late here, but very powerful speaker, so that's why he's not here. But again, guys are excited. Anytime you come off a win, they're excited. But sometimes success, hurts you also too. So we got to make sure that we go back to work and put on our hard hats and have a great week of preparation. right, thank you.